What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another Friday, another episode of Why Are We Bullish? This one's a little bit special. This is my first one coming to you live from Italy. I am traveling around with the family. And with that comes how should I put it? The absolute clusterfuck of figuring out what you're doing as you're on the road. So I've got my mobile set up here. The internet where I am, which is on the Amalfi Coast, which is beautiful, but the internet here is spotty at best, and we shall see what happens with that. Of course, you know, that's the name of the game. The show, I always do my intro clip of anything can happen, but this one applies especially for any shows on the road. So I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Yeah.
Of course, if you have not already, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things. Really important. They really help get this show in front of more eyeballs. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, and all my Nostriches. We are coming to you live on Nostr as well. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
Before we bring in our guests, let's take a quick look at where we are in the market right now. This is timechaincalendar.com. We're sitting right now at $29,827 per coin. A single US dollar will pick you up 3,352 sats. In terms of fees, next block, it looks like 23 sats per byte. If you're willing to wait a little bit, 13 sats per byte should do you. And then in terms of Bitcoin mined, 19.44 million of them, and that's 92.55% of the entire supply. Shout out to sponsors of the show, HodlHodl.com. If you're stacking sats and you got a few priorities in mind, like instant self-custody, peer-to-peer trading, no KYC, this is the place to go. You can sign up in minutes with nothing more than an email address. Once you're in there, simply choose a currency, a payment method, and an amount, and you can start viewing offers immediately and stacking non-KYC sats. They also have a lending platform in which nothing is ever rehypothecated. Check them out. Link is in the show notes. Now, when you do get your hands on some non-KYC sats, Cold Card, CoinKite, all the stuff that they're doing is, again, my favorite method. I love my Cold Card. I love everything coming out of there. They've got the tap signer, block clock, sats cards, open dimes, all kinds of great stuff. And I'm really looking forward to near the end of the year when the Cold Card Q1 drops. If you want to reserve that or pick up anything else that I've mentioned, head to coinkite.com, use code BTC Sessions for 5% off. And if you are looking to go beyond just single signature and you want to dive into multisig, namely assisted multisig, Nunchuk is an excellent wallet. I actually have a new tutorial dropping for them soon about all their advanced features in their mobile wallet, but I've done a couple previous videos. Anyways, the long and the short of it is you can set up a multisig wallet on your mobile device. Very simply, it handholds you through everything. You can use things like the tap sign or the cold card and a whole bunch of other hardware options. You set up a multi-sig. They hold a single key. You hold the rest of the keys. They are your signer of last resort. It has baked in inheritance planning, so your sats get to your next of kin if anything should happen to you. And on top of that, the whole thing is also non-KYC. You don't need to provide private information in order to set it up and have it work for you. So check them out, nunchuk.io. And final shout out to Start9, your sovereign computing solution. These guys are killing it. I have my brand new Server Pure, which is an absolute beast. But if you're unfamiliar, this is where you can host all of your Bitcoin infrastructure like Bitcoin Core, Lightning, mempool.space, join market, all that great stuff. You can also host your data, files, passwords, photos, Nostr relays, Nostr clients, all kinds of great stuff. And they've got different devices for different levels, entry level, mid level, and then the beast that I'm running, that is the Server Pure. So check them out, start9.com. And with that, enough of my rambling. I need to get my guests in here. So we're going to welcome to the stage Knut. We're going to welcome to the stage Niko, and we're going to welcome to the stage Philip. And I'm very excited to have all you gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. I think Knut has been on, but the other two gentlemen, first time on the show. So let's do a quick round of intros, just namely, who are you and what do you do? Knut, let's start with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Ben. This is my third time here, I believe, and we go way back. And I'm an international village idiot at this point, writing books about Bitcoin and going to conferences and advising a couple of Bitcoin companies and doing all sorts of fun stuff nowadays. Yeah, that's me.
I got to see a little bit in I got to see you in Prague, and I got to pick up your book and get a signed copy of it, might I mention. Added it to my bookshelf. It's now a prized possession. So yeah, it was good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. I mean, always a pleasure, and good to see you here, and looking forward to seeing you IRL soon again as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Niko, welcome. First time that we've really kind of done much interaction online, but I was kind of poking and prodding Twitter for suggestions of people that I should have on, and you came up quite a bit, and I was poking around at the stuff you've been doing, and I'm glad to have you, man. Can you give yourself a little intro?
Well, hi Ben. Thank you for inviting me. Hi guys, I'm glad to be here. So I'm Niko Jilch. I'm from Vienna, Austria, where I'm sitting now as well. I'm a financial journalist. I do a podcast, a German podcast. It's called Was Bitcoin bringt, and a YouTube channel. And I also do an English newsletter and a podcast on fixthemoney.net together with Yael, with my companion. Yeah, that's basically the very, very quick summary of what I do. I've been a mainstream journalist for most of my time, but I quit everything to do basically only Bitcoin 1.5 years ago, and so far I like it.
I love hearing about the brain drain. All the people that understand Bitcoin and have other occupations. They're slowly but surely migrating to focus their attentions on what I think will be a pretty important innovation.
And people do take notice. When you look to the other side, you know, people in the traditional media, they lose their jobs, and then they look at this crazy guy who went with the Bitcoin route and has followers and viewers on YouTube. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm very glad to have you, Niko. Looking forward to this chat.
Me too.
And we'll toss it down the line to Philip. It's good to see you, man. I saw you again in Prague as well. But we've met up at multiple locations, and it's been a long time coming having you on the show. Obviously, time zones are always a factor, so this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, no, maybe you invited me when I first went to Miami, and here and I think it's like 10, 11 o'clock my time. So thank you very much for visiting Europe and doing it here. Yeah, my name is Philip, or otherwise known as Prince Philip of Serbia. The crazy prince now that's into Bitcoin. And I'm the CSO of Jan3. Jan3 is a nation state adoption company started by Samson Mao. I don't think he needs any introduction. And I'm calling in from Belgrade. This is where I live. This is my home. I've been living here for 3 years now. I moved back 3 years ago during the pandemic, and here I am today with yeah. Well, what can I say? Yeah, to talk about Bitcoin. I guess.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have all you guys. And this should be a good one. I'm very excited. This is a banger to kick off my series of European chats. So thank you all for being here. We're going to dive in. I also want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat that's here as well. Keep those comments coming. They're going to be overlaid on the side of the screen the whole time. So yes, everybody on the live stream can see all of the comments, for better or worse. And that's just the way we roll here. So we're going to dive in. Anybody that's watching that is unfamiliar, this show is called Why Are We Bullish? Very simple premise. Each one of us is coming with a reason or a topic as to why we're bullish on Bitcoin. Quite often I'd say it's very seldom about price sometimes, but typically it can be an eclectic mix of really anything. It can be a personal experience, a piece of news, an application, a device, whatever it may be. we all have a reason that's currently top of mind that we're excited about Bitcoin for. And so the flow of this show is, one, somebody's going to drop a reason why they're bullish. Two, altogether, we're going to riff on that reason and discuss. And then three, we're going to rotate until we've all had a turn. So really simple: reason, riff, rotate. And so I'm going to get us started with my reason for being bullish. And it's a pretty simple one, actually. And I want to give a shout out to a gentleman Knut's definitely familiar with, but I want to give a shout out to Matteo because this week, in the context of traveling around, when I'm not actually at a Bitcoin related event, I'm just somewhere in the world where I'm not typically at. The Orange Pill app has been kind of cool and an interesting way to get in touch with local Bitcoiners wherever I happen to be at. And so I've been playing around quite a bit, even more so than when I've been at conferences, because I've always, you're around Bitcoiners that you know and everything. But when I'm just out and about and I'm looking around and I'm traveling with my family, it's really cool. It's been honestly very interesting to just jump on and then see people locally and say, hey, I'm in Rome, or I'm in Amalfi, or I'm in Matera, and I'm going to be a whole bunch of other places, and just seeing, oh, there's some Bitcoiners here, and then being able to figure out let's get together and grab a beer or a coffee or something like that, and just meeting people on the fly. I think it's unique in that it's location based. And so you can find Bitcoiners close to you, as opposed to, Twitter, everybody in Bitcoin is on Twitter, and it's very easy to converse, but like, that doesn't give you the, I'm here right now, who's nearby, can I go grab a beer with you? People might not see your tweet. Same thing with Nostr. Nostr is awesome for a different set of reasons, the censorship resistance aspect of it. But again, as of yet, it's not like a location. There's no like location based layer to that. And so I'm excited about Orange Pill app just because I can just kind of be anywhere and say, I need that Bitcoin fix, and then find somebody in the area almost immediately and then be able to link up. And so that's kind of my mission. So what I'm going to say is, if you're in Italy, and I'm going to go as far as to list where I'm going to be at, because I want to meet up with Bitcoiners while I'm on the road. Right now I'm in the Amalfi Coast. I'm in Amalfi itself. But I'm also going to be in Matera after this, and kind of that East Coast region, Puglia, I think it's called. And then I'm going to be back in Rome for 5 days. I'm going to be down to Sicily, all over Sicily for a while. I'm going to be in Malta for a little bit, and then I'm going to be in London. So I'm going to be trying to look on OPA, on Orange Pill app, every place that I am, and hopefully try and meet up with a Bitcoiner in every one of those locations, sit down. I just love meeting new Bitcoiners. So yeah, super excited about that. I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm just going to kind of open it up to discussion. And it can be like, again, if you're not currently using OPA, that's fine. I'm just kind of curious everyone's experience with meeting Bitcoiners in the wild, and the ease or difficulty in which you've been able to do so. So yeah, and anybody who wants to dive in can touch on this. Maybe I might even toss it over to Knut, because you've been keen on OPA a little bit as well. So I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I love OPA. We should put in a disclaimer here, Ben, that we're advisors for the Orange Pill app. So
yeah,
so we're
and I'm an advisor because of the value that I see in it, of course.
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly. You wouldn't be. I wouldn't have said yes to that if I didn't like the idea. And I recently came back to Sweden, and which is where I am now, and to my surprise, there's quite a lot of Orange Pill app users here as well. I could find people on Orange Pill app, and it seems to be the right people. I don't think scammers like the idea of paying a fee every month to join a network. But for people who want to separate signal from noise, it's a very good tool. So yeah, I love OPA, and I made a lot of connections on it. And there's a lot of new features in the pipeline. BTC Map is integrated, so you can find retailers and other stuff like Bitcoin ATMs or whatever you might need. And there's an event function, so you can make your own meetups and stuff. And there's a lot of cool stuff coming as well. Not to forget that the OPA organized giving each Congress member of the U.S. Congress a copy of the Bitcoin standard. So they had an event in Washington, D.C. Like a month back, maybe a couple of weeks back, where they made sure that there's at least a potential Bitcoiner on each and every seat in that particular building. So I really like that.
Yeah, that is super awesome. And I mentioned actually, while I was down here, I knew I knew that Nat Brunell was going to be around, but it was really funny jumping onto OPA and then just seeing her there. Oh, she's literally, X number of kilometers away. And then we had lunch yesterday. So, and there's a few other Bitcoiners that I know are going to be over in Italy this summer, but it's really cool to be able to connect with them as they travel. And I don't know. I think it's a pretty unique thing that Bitcoiners have, in that you can pop into any corner of the globe, any city, town, whatever. And if other Bitcoiners know that a Bitcoiner is in town, they are more than keen to get together and just chat. And it's one of those unique things where you already at a base level, you have a certain set of values and beliefs that already align. And so you can kind of skip a lot of the BS small talk in order to establish a rapport. And you can kind of dive into more interesting topics right out the gate, which is really cool. So
and you can have some bone broth and some raw liver and a glass of water together if you want.
Yes, exactly. So I'm curious, maybe Niko, I'm curious about your experience in kind of, have you met many Bitcoiners abroad?
Oh,
yeah.
And so I did just spend the last weekend. I did just spend with 200 of like the most hardcore Bitcoiners from the German-speaking world in what we call the Bitcoin Citadel, which we've been doing for 3 years now. Has been very important for me. So we get together. So Citadel is obviously Citadel, right? So we get together in like a farm or a castle, and it's an event. But there's no speakers. There's very little program. It's mostly about getting together. Like it's almost a family meeting, really. I met my man painting Bitcoin there, who has provided the awesome art that's in my office here. So please check him out. He's amazing. He's also done the art in El Salvador for the adopting Bitcoin. He's done Bitcoin block in Munich. So I don't want to like brag or anything, but in the German-speaking world, meeting Bitcoiners is not a hard thing anymore. They're literally everywhere. It's quite insane, actually. I spent the last 3 days I spent with an artist / entrepreneur who is 84 years old, and he's been a Bitcoiner since 2012 because he's been in computers his whole life, and he immediately saw Bitcoin, and it's like. I mean, we do YouTube videos why proof of work is important. He can demolish proof of stake and any alternative within like half a sentence. It's quite amazing. So it's interesting to see. I mean, to meet Bitcoiners. And the thing is that because I do YouTube and I do podcasts, so it even happens that like people will come up to me and say, "Are you Niko from YouTube?" And if they know me, obviously they're gonna be Bitcoiners. And I always say that Bitcoin really works as a social network, because you find people and you immediately have something to connect over. You have something to talk about, and not even talk about Bitcoin, but it's basically you literally have the same values, like in a very literal sense, right? Maybe not political values, maybe not, maybe you're the one is old, one is young, one is tall, one is short, but that doesn't matter in Bitcoin. And it's really interesting to see that, like politics and nationalities and all that stuff, gets thrown to the side really quickly with Bitcoiners. So yeah, I mean, if you're asking me why I'm bullish, of course I'll say because you can see the effect of Bitcoin in people, and it's absolutely insane to see that coming from I actually on the Citadel I did a talk about these phases where you first you lower your time preference, you sell all your chairs, you sit on the floor, then you start building, you start building yourself up. You want to work in the Bitcoin space. But I do want to open another thing, because I do have to say it, because you are asking why am I bullish. So I am very bullish because of the community. But the things
don't dive into your reason.
I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed. Oh, we're still riffing, right? We're still riffing. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit more riff, but I will ask you. I will ask you to elaborate on your reason momentarily. I just don't want you to lose it too early.
It's just so it's really like if we stay with the community, and I have to say I haven't even used Orange Pill app because I'm not an advisor. So
Yeah.
no, seriously, I've heard it's great, but I haven't used it because I'm in like 100 different Telegram groups where I can meet Bitcoiners if I want to. So it's just I get invitations. I can literally go to any town like 300 miles from here. I can visit Bitcoiners, and it's absolutely crazy. And I'll know that they're going to be nice people, and there's something to talk to. And maybe something that I also saw is that it's often people who are closer to reality, and by that I mean it's people who are you work with their hands, who work in nature, who are a little bit less disconnected from reality than maybe university professors or economists or that, because I get lots of people asking me, why doesn't this economist get it? Why doesn't this politician get it? That Bitcoin is the solution. And I always say, yeah, but these people are not looking for solutions. They are looking for votes, and they're looking for money, but they're not looking for solutions, because if there was a solution, then they'd be out of a job. So it's very interesting to see that quote unquote normal people get it really quickly. Especially I don't know if you have if you do sports, for example, if you have a sports coach, whatever. If you learn tennis, you'll very quickly find a sports coach that accepts Bitcoin, because before they would just do it in cash, and now they do it in Bitcoin. The little things, right? And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's that easy connection. Again, regardless of the method that you're able to connect with people with, you're absolutely right. You can wander into any town anywhere, and you've got a base of easy friends that you can connect with, and that's a fantastic thing. Philip, I'm curious your take as well on again meeting Bitcoiners in the wild and making those connections, and kind of this phenomenon of having this social layer globally that has formed.
I think yes. So when I came out the closet about being a Bitcoiner about a year and a half ago, I got a lot of attention on that video, that 3-minute clip on that talk show here in Serbia, the Ivan Ivanovic show. Went viral on Bitcoin Twitter. And next thing I know, I'm in touch with all my Bitcoin heroes that I've been secretly following for a while now. And next thing I know, I'm on Daniel Prince's podcast. I'm on Safety's podcast. And the next thing I'm getting invited to Miami, and I meet you, Ben, and I meet you, Knut. And that's also where I get offered the job for Samson's new company, Jan 3. And since Miami, I've been to maybe about 10 conferences, and that's where I obviously meet most of the Bitcoiners. And I echo everything that everyone said on here so far, that you don't really have much small talk. You cut to the chase, and you can talk about the bigger picture, about how we actually should be perceiving the world. And yeah, you mentioned, Niko, that normal people get it. I like to say that I'm not normal, and I was working a financial job in London, in the city, in asset management, pure Kentian environment, but somehow I got it. So there's hope.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's like an inner disdain for the system you're working within, and
I
you
wrote
see
in a foreword for Knut's rehash of his 2 first books that I always knew there was something amiss in the world, that something wasn't quite adding up. But I kind of wanted to be comfortable working finance and do what your parents thought was a good idea for you. But always with the suspicion that things were not right. And then when you introduce the Bitcoin, 2017, I also get distracted by shitcoins and all that. But then 2020, that's when I really started to pay attention. That's when I really started to study more, as you saw what happened with the whole COVID bullshit. So I studied more. I joined Bitcoin Twitter and read the Bitcoin Standard, because apparently that was a thing to read. And I think within as that CNBC presenter said, I think within 20 pages, I was sold. So when I go around meeting Bitcoins, and going back to the top to what you asked, I think everyone is just very humble. There's no like, what, not egos. The ego is a bad thing. There's no arrogance. I think that's the word. There's no arrogance. There's confidence, which is a good thing. And there's a lot of love and a lot of appreciation, and it's just hard workers. People to just get it, and it really is a beautiful, wholesome community to be part of. And the great thing is, it's a growing community. Yeah. And I've noticed that whenever I speak, because I do a lot of traveling that's not Bitcoin related, and I try and introduce it to people, and a lot of people just don't get it, Bitcoin yet. It's a really misunderstood technology, if you can call it that. I guess it is, yeah. So there's potential. That's one reason why I'm very, very bullish as well. It's just the potential of people of unlocking a lot of indoctrinated minds out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and again, to the earlier point, that if it's dove into Bitcoin, they've had that unlock. They've had that key turn, and their minds have been freed from the confines of fiat culture, I suppose. So it's or at least they're peeking out the gate anyways. So there's more potential to kind of dive down deeper conversations and understand somebody a little bit more than you would from a quick convo from a random person on the road. So
it's because when you get into Bitcoin and you might buy some and then you take it into cold storage, what you do is you take responsibility over your life. And that is not something that is common in fiat world. So you do this step without even noticing it, and afterwards you see the changes.
Yeah.
With freedom comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
I think that's also why it's so interesting. I like that you touched on that, Niko, because there's many aspects of one's life in which you can take more personal responsibility for. And you get people coming to Bitcoin that are quite knowledgeable. Obviously, they did something before Bitcoin. They're going to be particularly knowledgeable in that area of expertise. And if that person has an affinity for personal responsibility, they're going to be attacking that area of expertise in the most personally responsible way. And so there's such a wealth of knowledge to learn from other Bitcoiners, because on a base level of values that they're approaching those other topics. If it's their expertise, if they believe in kind of that personal responsibility of self-custody and, responsibility over the fruits of one's labor, they're likely applying that to their other areas of expertise, or they're more likely to do so. And so I think that's why it's so interesting, and why we see like these subsets of expertise in different areas, specifically within Bitcoiners, that you can get some pretty good knowledge around, I want to say tangential talk to Bitcoin, but really it's just personal response. Did I chop out a bit?
A little bit, but that's okay.
Okay,
fine with me.
I can tell you a story about. I can tell you a story about normal people if you want to.
Yes.
So we have in the German-speaking world, we have what's called Volksmusik, which is basically what for America that would be country music, right?
There's normal people in Germany.
I said the German-speaking world. No, I love all the Germans. I love all the Germans. So the thing is that Volksmusik, basically, if you're not into that, you don't know what's happening there. But it's huge. There's hundreds of thousands of people following it. There's huge concerts. And there's one band, it's called the Paldauer. I didn't even know about them. You know, I know about them now because 3 days ago you had this clip going around from them singing, right? And everybody on German Bitcoin Twitter was freaking out about this big band that you didn't know about before, but hundreds of thousands of people love. They were singing, right? And I listened to the song 3 times, and it was like about love and hope and blah blah blah, but it wasn't about Bitcoin. So I didn't get it. And then I called the Bitcoiner who posted it. I said, "What is going on? What's going on?" And he said, "Look, just look." So the guy, the singer, is wearing a huge Bitcoin bee on his T-shirt.
I saw a picture of that. Yeah.
and they were all wearing not the same T-shirt. He was the only one wearing the Bitcoin thing, but they had like their clothes were made for the show, right? So he did that. He did that by himself, or he wanted to do that, right? And the guy I talked to, the Bitcoiner, his mom is like a huge fan, and they were both flipping out. And it's and this is what I can see more and more now is that people like from all, and this is why, like, if you really want to be bullish about Bitcoin, look from how many different angles and nationalities and backgrounds people are coming to Bitcoin. And it's happening more and more now.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look up that picture now. I want to see that performance. That's awesome.
Are you sure it wasn't Knut on stage?
It may have been. Awesome. All right, gentlemen. I want to do a rotation here. We're gonna dive into another reason for being bullish. Again, everybody that's watching, thank you. Give it a share on whatever social platforms you're on. Keep diving into the chat and everything. I'll bring up some more messages, by the way. And shout out to Rabbit Colony. He says the value of our time really spoke and is still speaking to me. So yeah, we're going to rotate over. Knut, I'm going to toss it to you. I'm going to cue you up, and I'm just going to ask you, why are you bullish?
Yeah, why wouldn't I be? It would be a better question. But all right, where to start? Like one of the most common questions I get asked after having gone full-time Bitcoiner is, what is Bitcoin? That's the question we all get. Like, people want us to explain it to them in as simply as possible. And the simplest answer I have, someone has their microphone on, I think. I hear a lot of noise. Is that it's just an agreement on a fixed set of rules between people. And these rules are very, very hard to change. And that's the whole point. And speaking of responsibility, like it's up to each and every one of us to verify that the Bitcoin we got were actually real Bitcoin and not some cheap copy or some paper Bitcoins or whatever. And it's easier to do that than people think, because basically all you have to do is look at a number and see how many zeros it starts with. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, but that's the gist of it. And what this responsibility thing means is that those among us most willing to take responsibility for their own actions are the ones that are going into Bitcoin first, which means that they will be able to extract the most value out of it if they can stop themselves from spending it, which in turn means that the people willing to take the most responsibility will be the most powerful people among us. And if you think more about what a computer is and what a Bitcoin node is and what a miner is, you realize that the computer is just a fancy abacus that helps the node owner to do the calculation. And the same goes for the mining computer, the ASIC. It's just a fancy abacus. It's nothing but that. It helps us with the calculations needed to verify that everything is going on and to mine for the Bitcoin and whatever, which is basically just guessing a number over and over again. So the miner is not the computer that mines. It's the guy that bought the computer that mines and chose to run it The node is not the Raspberry Pi running Umbrel or the Start9 server running Bitcoin Core. It's you, Ben. You're the node when you fire that thing up. And the same with the Bitcoin users. They are the Bitcoins. There's no, since Bitcoin is just information, it's all in our heads. It's all about keeping a secret. So anyone who can keep a secret owns that Bitcoin in a sense. So you have ownership, possession, and now an even deeper layer than that, and that is keeping a secret, which is the same as owning the Bitcoin. So not being bullish, what this means is that not being bullish on Bitcoin is not being bullish on humanity. And so you might just go hang yourself if that was the case. Like, so because we've got this thing now, and even further than that, so Bitcoin is everyone in the Bitcoin community, but it's also everyone who's not in the Bitcoin community yet, but will be in the future, because we Bitcoiners, we trade with other people in other currencies too. And that influences our decisions and that influences our lives. So in a sense, everyone's connected to the Bitcoin network via proxy, because there's no such thing as a circular economy. It's all connected. So not being bullish on Bitcoin is not being bullish on humanity. So that's why I'm bullish on Bitcoin.
I like that. I love your framing of you know, like, you are the node, you are the miner, you are the network, because yeah, of course, without people behind it, if I spin up a Bitcoin node and then I plug it into a wall and an internet connection and I leave it in a warehouse somewhere and I never refer to it, is it doing anything? I mean, not really.
No. And this is, by the way, this is also why artificial intelligence isn't really intelligence, because artificial intelligence does not have agency or free will. It does not make decisions on its own. That it needs a human to tell it what to do. Mm-hmm. And this is what separates us from everything else on Earth. Like we can choose our destiny to a certain extent. We can influence it. So when people say we're all Satoshi, mm-hmm. they're missing an S. We're all Satoshis. like that's it. I should tweet that.
You should. You spin up that tweet right now. No, that's 100%. Like, that's without the people behind it, without the people trying to claim their own self-sovereignty, without the people trying to actually gain control over the fruits of their labor, then the network itself has no meaning. You know, it serves no purpose, and it just remains stagnant. You know, you can have you can have the remains of a network sitting there, but if nobody's using it, what is it? It's nothing.
No, it's, and in that sense, it's not backed by energy. It's backed by human action. It's backed by people choosing to sacrifice energy. Mm-hmm. And of course, well, humans run on energy too, but still, it cannot function without people with agency, like mm-hmm. people who decide, who make a decision to join the network in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Wow. Niko, I want your thoughts on this. Are we the network?
Absolutely. It's I think it, and I mean, and this is coming from the talks I had in the last couple of days. I think it's going to get actually a bit more complicated now that, you know, the big boys are getting involved. It doesn't change anything about Bitcoin though, and yes, we are the network, very much so. I think it's important to understand with Bitcoin is one of the things that Bitcoin is money, right? I mean, we can agree on this, and money is not something that you buy normally. So we buy it as an investment, or that's how many people get into it. But there will come a time when people won't be, you know, buying Bitcoin. You can only work for Bitcoin. You know, you have to provide value to your fellow human beings, and then you can receive Bitcoin. So you cannot think Bitcoin without this social layer. And I think what Knut says ties beautifully into what we talked about before. It's I mean, in a very real sense, you don't even have to own Bitcoin to join the network. Obviously, most people who will have joined it will own some in some way or form. But there is no Bitcoin without the people using it. And Bitcoin itself doesn't even know we exist. That's how it cannot discriminate. So it solves the discrimination problem by not even knowing that people exist. But I'm totally with him. I've heard this idea of Knut that we are Bitcoin because we carry it within us a couple of times, and it grows on me.
So does that make it the virus? there's no host.
It is a virus.
Yeah.
A human body consists of about 15% old viruses. And viruses are not necessarily bad. So, it's definitely a mind virus.
I like that. Philip, how's the mind virus treating you? Thoughts here?
Yeah. Well, no, I've got to say Bitcoin is the greatest story ever told. Yeah, it's where would I start with this? I think the social proofing side of it is really important. I think what Knut was saying, what you were talking about as well, Niko, is I seeing people around the world and passing them the knowledge of Bitcoin and just seeing them attached to the idea. Not just individuals, but now we're seeing this with the big institutions, as you said, Niko, and also nation states. And when nation states and institutions start to talk about it, then this is really waking up other people because those people perceive those institution nation states as something credible, even though they're not really credible at all in our eyes. But when those guys start to talk about it, then that really starts to spread the social proof side of things. And that's one thing, like what we try and do. One of our strategies at Jan 3 is just strike conversations with nation states, with institutions, with influential people. And when other people start to realize that that they're talking about Bitcoin or they're interested about Bitcoin, they're like, maybe I should start thinking about it. And there it is. That's how Bitcoin spreads. It spreads by us speaking to other people, and you can help to accelerate that by maybe targeting some of the biggest information spreaders in the world that we have today. And Bitcoin is a bottom-up approach. There's no arguing that, but there is some top-down that needs to be taken care of and done the right way. And I think that's going to play a really important part. And I got to say, I'm partly excited with the likes of BlackRock and Fidelity and those things releasing an ETF. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's correct, but I think it's very bullish. My pocket's going to be happy. My mind is going to be happy because I guess the Bitcoin is in my head. That's where it's all held. I'm going to really feel my brain swell in richness.
Okay, so now that we're on the virus tick, I'm gonna throw it out to everybody. Who's the super spreader? Who's the Bitcoin super spreader? Like, if you could coin the greatest Bitcoin super spreader of them all.
I like, no, sorry if I butt in, like, this is the obvious answer for me, who was also very pivotal in my journey to become fully orange pilled, is Michael Saylor. I think his presentation, the way he talks about it, in so many different angles, and how eloquent he is about it, was really quite something. So he's a great maxi to have on our side.
Yeah, that's the first name that popped into my head too, after seeing the standing ovations in Prague and everything. And Michael's great, but the second face that popped into my mind is the person that has coined the best ad for Bitcoin ever, and that's Christine Lagarde. She said, "If there is an escape, that escape will be used," and I can't put it better than that, and neither can anyone else. It's perfect.
I think someone else in the chat pointed out Jeremy Powell. I think there's a lot of memes going around about the Bitcoin marketing team and putting basically all the all those characters, your Lagardes, your pals, your your different your presidents here and there, and I don't know who else is in that group. But yeah,
Greta maybe.
Greta, is it? Yeah.
She's a great super spreader. Yeah. Niko, do you have a favorite super spreader?
So is this? Can I already tell you my reason for being bullish, or is that too early? Because it really ties in here.
I'm okay. After this, I was about to rotate it. So let's go from super spreader to your reason for being bullish. Let's take it on a journey. What's your segue?
So first of all, in my little collection of art, I have Christine Lagarde back there, a couple of other people taking the orange pill from Knut, who is a brilliant Bitcoin artist. So he's always there with me, and also my 21 Energy Bitcoin heaters. I'm actually mining Bitcoin here when it's cold. It's not cold enough for that today. About being bullish and about the super spreader, right? It's not a very original answer, but I think it's very important. I mean, all of us who have been coming into Bitcoin from special fiat jobs or whatever, at some point we took the plunge, and there was always reputational risk as well. Bitcoin has this I wouldn't call it an image problem, but in normal world, we were just seeing, the FUD coming again from Greenpeace and from this actor guy who thinks he's the expert on quote unquote crypto. But I think that if you look at what's happening right now, and you can think it's good or bad that it's acting this way, but it is happening. June 15th, 2023, the day BlackRock filed its ETF filing, that was basically the day that all reputational risk died. It died. It's over. And anyone who is anybody who ever said anything bad about Bitcoin now has to check their story, because Larry Fink is now bullish. And I don't think that anybody really knows how important that is, and I don't think that anybody really has a clue. I think that the video the talk that he gave a couple of days ago on CNBC gives us a clue, because it's interesting to see that there's a very good podcast about GLD. That's the gold ETF. So before I was a Bitcoiner, I was a gold bug. I'm still a bit of a gold bug because it's shiny, right? And the GLD ETF was new, it was new when it was introduced. It was something that has never been done before, a commodity ETF. There's a podcast on that, I think from Bloomberg. It's very interesting. And BlackRock missed that. BlackRock did not have the first gold ETF. They have the second gold ETF, and their gold ETF is not the biggest. And I think that, every time, Larry Fink gets up in the morning, he thinks about that and he cries a little. So now he really, really, really wants to be the first and the biggest Bitcoin ETF, because that's where he thinks BlackRock needs to be. And we can talk about the whole politics behind that, and if there were strings pulled, and if others have not gotten the ETF before him, doesn't matter. What matters is that you've got this important figure sitting on CNBC saying that Bitcoin will transcend national currencies. It's completely insane. I mean, I don't think we even know what's happening here so far. So yes, right now he's probably the best, quote unquote super spreader. I mean, always, thinking that he will get it if the ETF does not get approved, then we can talk about it again. But right now, this is, I think, the most important reason to be bullish on it, obviously, because obviously, and for the record, Bitcoin does not need an ETF. You need an ETF if you have problems holding the asset yourself, right? Like stocks. You can't hold 500 stocks in the S&P 500. You cannot hold 30 kilograms of gold. You can, but it's hard, but you can buy the ETF. So for the record, Bitcoin does not need an ETF. But people within the traditional financial sector who have rules and regulations and maybe problems with going to Coinbase or Swan or Kraken, they can buy this ETF. They need this ETF. And when you look at the price of gold, I mean, just pull up the chart and check out the price of gold since 2004. That's when the gold ETF started. There will be an avalanche of money coming into Bitcoin, and I think that BlackRock knows that, because Bitcoin is basically the only single asset that could add $1 or $2 trillion to their portfolio. You cannot do that with stocks anymore. Even it would just be inflation. So I think this is extremely important. I think that the Americans, and then now you have Robert Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy. I'm not even going into that, But I'm gonna say one thing. Did you see his talk about how he's gonna back the dollar with Bitcoin?
Yes, and
Yes.
well, what can I say? I had to take some paracetamol after that.
It's the interesting thing about that is not that he said he's going to back the dollar with Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to happen. He's not going to get into office probably, right? I mean, weirder things have happened and Trump was elected, but let's just assume that's not going to happen. But he also said we're going to back the dollar with Bitcoin, and then he said the hardest liquid asset in the world. That's his direct quote. He says the hardest liquid asset in the world. And I think that's a new quote we should go with, because it's true, because after the next halving, Bitcoin will have a higher stock-to-flow ratio than gold and even global real estate. At 120 stock-to-flow ratio, Bitcoin will be the hardest liquid asset in the world. And once people realize that, and then you have the Bitcoin ETF and you have the other stuff going on, because with BlackRock entering the market, basically the whole narrative is going to change. Mainstream media is just going to flip on the dime here, and just I'm on the record saying that the next top of the bull market will be when Nassim Taleb turns bullish again by telling everybody that he was bullish before, so he was right all along. I'm calling it, and then I'll sell a bit.
Kind of two.
Oh, we're losing you, Ben.
We're losing the host.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The virus has lost its host.
Okay, now
better.
I'm a little tough here. You got me?
I can. Yes, I think it's working now.
Maybe we can continue talking about the ETF or something.
Me.
I see a lot of comments.
Yes.
A lot of comments about talking about how Bitcoin ETF is negative. Which,
I mean, can I say one sentence and I'll stop?
Sure,
okay?
Please, go for it.
The thing is that, yes, I see all the arguments against an ETF. Absolutely. I see all the things that it's going to manipulate the price. There's going to be paper Bitcoin, all of these things. But it was going to happen regardless. So the positive side is the narrative side, right? And all the media flipping bullish on Bitcoin and that stuff. It was always going to happen at some point that we'll have this phase of the adoption where, the mainstream or the fiat system tries to, go down the same route with Bitcoin that they went down with gold. And we have to see where it leads, but it's not something we can prevent by just moaning about it. We have to show the other way, absolutely. But for now, it is it is a reason to be bullish. And it doesn't change anything about, the Bitcoin that's in my head or in Knut's head, if there is a Bitcoin ETF. And also the paper Bitcoin thing, yes. But I think that there will be websites and they will add all the Bitcoin that's in ETFs. And once we go to 22 million, everybody will try and sell.
Yes, I view this as the moment Fujifilm starts their new service is to print digital photos, or this is like when Blockbuster Video starts selling candy instead of DVDs. This is the moment. This is the equivalent moment here when you get all these fiaty big players starting to fiddle with Bitcoin, and they're just like on top of the rabbit hole but haven't fallen down yet, and they have no idea what they're in for. Like they have no idea what they're doing to themselves. But in the long run, this is the beginning of the end for them.
Also, another point going back to the paper Bitcoin thing. Then that was obviously huge problem last bull run with the likes of FTX and all that paper Bitcoin crap that happened. This time, with the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity, and stuff, there will be a little bit more rules set in place, as what you talked about, Niko. Mm-hmm. And I think it'll be harder to fake that paper Bitcoin. So there might still be some, of course. You'll never get rid of it, but it will definitely be closer to 1-to-1 as well. So this next bull run.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. Yeah. So that, and I think really what I wanted to repeat from before is that it was when you have people like BlackRock, institutions like BlackRock talking about it, it's just going to make people more interested, and that's going to just capture, and it's going to spread the narrative of the greatest story ever told to new people, and they're going to realize, okay, so what is Bitcoin? And it's our job now to make sure they get the right narrative, they get the real story of what Bitcoin is. And that's only going to be wonders to spreading network and making the network reach all parts of the world. I mean, which it has already, but as in it's inevitable, really. So, but with these big players, it's just going to speed it up.
I mean, what you can say is that it's true that Bitcoin does not need the ETF, but BlackRock needs the Bitcoin ETF, and that really tells the whole story.
Yeah, and the same goes for RFK and all these politicians. Like, Bitcoin does not need a politician to approve it. Like, that's not, it's not democracy money, it's anarchy money. So like, that's the whole point. Being a politician and saying, yeah, I'm gonna make this perfectly legal, and I'm gonna make sure you're allowed to do this or that. Well, that's cute, but it's not what this thing is about.
I know.
I was just going to say there's two things at play here, right? Like there's two competing. There's the narrative, and there's the paper Bitcoin risk. But the narrative being propelled by these players coming in, what is that narrative? Well, the narrative is we need a sound money that is verifiable, and if that proliferates, then that becomes a Trojan horse in the legacy finance system. And so you get into an instance where like, is there paper Bitcoin? What's going, maybe we should do some verification. I think you just see a repeat time and again of everybody thinking that the next larger institution is the one that's the shining example of right? Everybody thought Mt. Gox was the last Mt. Gox. Then Quadriga happened, and then FTX happened. Well, what the hell happens when large paper Bitcoining, Bitcoin? Well, the same thing on a larger scale. I think it was Odell that said on Nat Brunell's podcast, path to hyper-Bitcoinization is society being rugged again and again and again and figure it out, every single person. And I think that's probably right. I'm not necessarily it's going to be institution A or B, but it's going to be some of them. And the thing with Bitcoin, because it settles so quickly, because you can demand settlement, because you can verify supply, fuck around, find out happens very quickly compared to legacy finance. So you can kick that can down the road for a long time with infinite printable money. Notch with 21 million. The other thing that at here that I did want to touch.
Can I just reply to that?
This is my opinion. Dark plan.
So if you extrapolate, like if you do Mt. Gox and then FTX, and if you extrapolate that into the future, the United States of America is somewhere down the line that also falls into the same category and disappears.
Yes.
Sorry. Just one thing about is what we talked about is responsibility of holding your own keys and being self-sovereign. I think some people are not quite ready for that. People still want the third party. Still, people don't have that need for responsibility. We've been cushioned too much in society that we make mistakes. We can just print more money essentially. And this is something that's going to be hard to shake off. But in time, hopefully, this is something that will spread and people will learn because they have no choice, really. Because at the end of the day, I think they, as you said, Ben, too many ruggings will end up from people to be forced to wanting to take responsibility of their wealth.
Nothing that excludes a malicious individual or entity from being a super spreader as well. Right. Like one of the greatest super spreader SBF, right?
Yeah. Speaking of rug pulls, Philip, have you ever had a red carpet pull? Did anyone ever pull the red carpet from under your feet?
Not physically. there's no footage of me, like a cartoon. Yeah,
that's
but
a great response. That's what they did. That's what the commies did. Like they pulled they pulled the ultimate rug pull.
That's why we're all Bitcoiners here. Is because we are. It's commies is all about taking away your private property, and we are all staunch advocates of individual property rights. And everything was stolen away from my family in the 40s, and still is confiscated to this day. So I guess maybe that could be subconsciously one of the reasons why I understood Bitcoin quickly, because that's one thing that they can't take from you unless you can hack someone's brain.
Especially when you talk to many American Bitcoiners, and you probe long enough, there will be some communism family backstory in 80% of the like when you talk to American gold bugs, 80% of them have German heritage. It's just it's a weird thing, but obviously it's not a weird thing. Maybe it's very logical actually. When your family has had this experience with communism, then you have somebody that will understand this within your personal life, and that will give you the confidence to talk about this outside of your personal life. And then there is people who come to it for some other reason that is hard to understand. So we'll have to do studies on that.
I agree.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to touch on one quick thing here that we jumped away from, but I think it's important to mention. Somebody brought up in the chat just regarding the ETF, and I brought it up earlier about BlackRock forking Bitcoin into like ESG Bitcoin. I think the only refutation that needs is war. And that's basically an exact blueprint of how this would go. If you think that a large entity can change because of Bitcoin, I would much refute that. At the time when the block size war happened, it was like the top 50 companies. It was 80% of the hash rate. It was basically like all of the muscle that people perceive to be behind Bitcoin was thrown into array by nothing than people running nodes and a futures market of that fork would be. And turns out it would be worth a fraction of what actual Bitcoin would be worth. So I think the worry of and as we said, it's the narrative sells of what Bitcoin is, and the narrative of Bitcoin continues to be, hey, this is censorship resistant global money that can be used by anybody and that has a cap supply and is sound. And so if we need to do our jobs and we need to make sure that people realize that that is what Bitcoin is. But you're going to have a hard time forking Bitcoin into something other than that. And I think it's too ingrained at this point to be able to sell somebody a different narrative of what Bitcoin is. You can fork it. You can create ESG Bitcoin. In fact, there already is proof of stake Bitcoin. Nobody uses it.
I mean, the only existential crisis Bitcoin ever had, I'd say, was the block size wars, and that's done. It's gone. I don't think we have any more any forking crises ahead of us.
And we already have ESG Bitcoin, and it's not Bitcoin proof of stake. It is called BTC, and it trades on Kraken and on Coinbase, and it's not. We all know that if you want to go down that route, we all know that Bitcoin ticks all the boxes: environmentally friendly, yes; socially, yes. What's the G governance? Well, we got that covered, right? And it's so for this like scare about BlackRock, I'd say it's a lot easier to change the definition of ESG or to change the perception of Bitcoin within the ESG framework than to change Bitcoin. And it's important. I think it's important to see that, you know, if it walks like a dog, you know, and it barks like a dog, it's probably a dog. BlackRock is in this to make money. They're not in this to you know, because they see Bitcoin. Yes, maybe they see Bitcoin as a threat, because Bitcoin is a threat to their business model insofar as that it will take out the store of value premium from stocks and other paper products that they sell to people. So their basic business is basically taking the savings of the world and putting them into stock indices. But if they can take the savings of the world and put them into Bitcoin and hold, like, I don't know, 2 million Bitcoin on one hardware wallet and call it a day, and charge some money on that, they'll do that. You know, they just want to be the first and the biggest. I think that's important for them. And the whole ESG thing basically has run its course anyway, and they're just going to pivot to something else now. And maybe it's called BTC.
Yeah, I think, yeah, they just want to extract their fees where they can. Yeah, I'm not worried about them protocol, and really, it doesn't saying, yeah, we're going to fork Bitcoin. It takes them Bitcoin, and then can that all of us that are using Bitcoin and moving it around, and all of us running codes that are saying, no, that's not Bitcoin, convince the world that they didn't make a change that we changed somehow, which was the narrative of Bcash. It would be a Bcash narrative all over again. So yeah. I don't think
and
it's
also, like,
an issue.
Yeah, if you wanna be on the same network as us four here on this channel, run your own node and run the same code as we do.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to go on with the conversation. I'm going to do a rotate, and I'm going to toss it over to, and I'll queue you up with the same question as the other gentleman got. Bullish, take it away.
Why am I bullish? Why am I bullish? I am bullish because I mentioned this before, that there's so many people who don't understand Bitcoin yet, and everywhere I go, there's so many people who are just who could it would help their lives so much better. And just recently, I had a meeting with someone who is bright, who's intelligent, and he's an advisor to a certain president in our area. And he never really heard about Bitcoin properly. And then I talked to him about it, and I told him about how it secures your sovereignty, it protects you against inflation, all the things that we know about. And all of a sudden, you could see his brain just working, just understanding it. And these moments I have quite often and around the world, and with people who can be, not, I would say, influential, but just intelligent people who've just not understood what Bitcoin is. And I think these untapped minds around the world that can help spread the word of Bitcoin are so many. And I'm bullish because there's only a very small percentage of the world that actually understands what Bitcoin is. I mean, I'll leave it at that, really.
All right, I'm going to toss it to the other gentleman. My sound is crap, so if you want to dive.
Knut, go on.
Sorry, I got distracted here, so I didn't get the gist.
No,
of it.
I can continue saying that. I was last year I was in Argentina and I was in El Salvador, and as you know, what's happened to Argentina this year. Its inflation has again reached double digits. It's really tough place to live in financially, but the society there is still very presentable. People are very it felt like, really, I was like in Europe, not saying anything bad against Latin America, but it felt like I was in a very developed country. It's just the money situation there was horrible. Like when you get money, when you go get exchange cash dollars for for their pesos, you'd get like a stack, like a stack of pesos. Like the lowest denomination was like 1,000 pesos, which is the highest denomination. Sorry, is 1,000 pesos, which is like $3. Now that's probably about $1. And you would have to carry these wads of cash in your pocket, and that was the best exchange rate you can get. Is by exchanging in cash. If you did it by credit card, if you buy things in credit card, you get half the value. Absolute shit show. And here's this country that that really needs it more than most countries. And now, like for example, what we're doing at Jan 3 is we're going to release a wallet that's completely self-custodial. And yes, it's going to be using Lightning, but also Liquid, and we're going to be using putting USDT. This is another conversation that's been happening. I've seen online. I've seen the likes of McCormack in Argentina recently saying he's had to use shit coins like Tron and Ethereum to transact in USDT, because that's what people use there. But now you can actually will be able to use USDT on Bitcoin on Liquid network. So there's that. And this is why our product is going to be such a big breakthrough for Latin America, for a lot of these parts of not just in Latin America, but also in Central America and around the world. People want to be able to have exposure to a currency like the US dollar, but also that also gives you half a point of understanding what Bitcoin's about as well. So if you see USDT and Bitcoin on your mobile app, you'll get, you want it just for US dollars, but then you see Bitcoin there, you're going to get interested and you're going to start wanting to start storing in Bitcoin, and that's basically allowing the free market to decide. A little bit what El Salvador's done with their top-down approach. And then yet again, Bitcoiners, maxis who just want to hold self-custody in Bitcoin, that's doable as well. But then if in case you're like a Peter McCormack who goes to Argentina, doesn't want to use a shitcoin and transact in USDT, you can do it without having to buy any Tron or rely on any REC20 bullshit. So there's that.
I like that.
Oh, all right, Mike.
You go.
You want me to comment, Ben? There's a bit of a lag with your whenever you speak, so that's why we speak over each other every now and then. Anyway, this is the thing. I think Bitcoin is going to help the people who need it the most. So people in countries like Argentina, people in countries like Venezuela, if they just acquire some Bitcoin and find a way to not spend it too early, they have a chance of surviving hyperinflation. And I know that this is one of my first real goosebump moments in my own personal Bitcoin journey, was then when I got a personal message from a guy who had fled Venezuela with Bitcoins in his head. And he thanked me for some article I had written. And so that was a really, really, holy shit moment for me. So I think this is very beautiful. And if we can get people informed in those countries, and if we can get them to acquire just a little bit of Bitcoin and hodl it for 5 years or something, they may be able to, or even just convert whatever else they have into Bitcoin and flee the country. And even better if the people in the country can just start for lack of a better word, circular economy in that country using Bitcoin. That's of course the best thing.
I think it's also important to not underestimate or to not forget that we, even if it doesn't feel like it, we're still very early. There's not many people who, have gone down the route of using Bitcoin as their unit of account, as their day-to-day money even. And for a very, very long time, maybe for our whole lifetime, and maybe even for our kids' lifetime, there will be this fight of systems. Bitcoin will exist, fiat will exist, other experiments will exist, and I think it's getting increasingly easier. I think Philip and Knut have talked about this, getting increasingly easier to show people the advantages of Bitcoin itself. But it's also, the most powerful thing you can really do in these, especially in the West, where people will not need Bitcoin immediately. in Europe and in the US, you know, other like South America, Africa, Asia is a different story. I mean, I've done a podcast with a young woman from Ukraine who's got her money out of Ukraine when she had to flee the country. So, and she's not the only one, right? But what I see in my day-to-day life, really, where everybody's going crazy about inflation and politics and the war and this and that, and you know, the weather. You know, Bitcoiners are just very relaxed because they have something to rely on. And once you've been into the rabbit hole for long enough, you know, you get this relaxed aura, and you have this, you know, it's like we talked about, you have this social network of people that you can always tap into, and there will be 99.9% of them will be good people who will want to help you if you need help, because, you know, I think people are inherently good, and I think that Bitcoin just, you know, releases this inherent goodness, if you want to call it, because we don't have to worry about money anymore. Nobody can take it away from you, not even through inflation. So I think that this relaxed stage is actually the best one to be in for the next couple of years, because things are going to get extremely crazy. And if we panic at any you know, given point, then there will be many points that we can panic on, or we can be the relaxed Bitcoiners, you know, who just, you know, stack some sats and then go for a beer and just, you know, live life like it should be, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to keep my response short and simple here, because I know my sound is crap. The chat is asking if I'm sitting on a taser. I am sitting on a taser, so maybe that's part of the sound. But I wanted to say, I think Liquid work doesn't get enough love. I think it's incredibly stable coins. And there's, again, stable inherent counterparty risk. We know this. So, you know, use the least shitcoiny thing you can. And that's Liquid, in my opinion. There's also something to be said for stable sats, which Blood is doing, which is Lightning native. But besides the point, you don't need a token in order to utilize a stable coin. And so why bother? Outside of that, Philip, I just wanted to, because you mentioned a wallet, but people may not be familiar. I'm sharing my screen. Aqua Wallet is this where you can use Bitcoin, Liquid, and again, Tether. You can also do the same through something like Blockstream Green. Yeah. Anyways, lots of options there. Yeah, you don't need to accomplish.
It's a Bitcoin
using a stable coin, and I think that's fantastic. And I think people will use US dollar, and so why not use it in tandem with Bitcoin and get curious, and then they can mine. They're already using stuff like that. Go ahead, Philip.
We have a comment. Philip?
Yeah, sorry, no, I wanted to just continue quickly about Aqua Wallet. That it's what Stamson started at Blockstream. They have Green, but he actually started this at Blockstream, and it's a Bitcoin central wallet. And it will, as you said, it's going to have USDT Liquid and USD, and also.
Go ahead. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. No, yeah. So I'll finish with saying that Aqua Wallet will be out soon, and it should be big in Latin America and other parts of the world, and helping to grow our network. And I'm very bullish about that.
So Ben's situation is not very good at advertisement for internet in Italy. You know. Poor guy.
Yeah, maybe we should take over a bit then. And
sorry, guys.
I think it's better now.
Are you guys hearing me okay right now? Okay.
Now, yes.
I'm going to start to round out if that's okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. There's a bit of a delay, but we'll power through. Fuck it. We'll do it live. I like to finish each show with a quick round of any final thoughts and any recommendations. So I'm basically going to toss it down the line. Anything that you didn't get off your chest and anything you'd like to point people to that may be of use, that may help them in their Bitcoin journey, or something interesting you think people should check out. So I'll toss it to Knut. Dude, final thoughts, recommendations, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to show you guys something. It's my most prized possession, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It's this thing. Can you see it? There's a lot of reflections here, but this is Fractal Encrypt's Infinity Key number 1 out of 21. So I got this here with me. Where did you guys go?
You're on your own.
All right. So I got this here with me because today is the 21st of July. So there's only one single month until Bitcoin Infinity Day 2023 happens. And we're going to try to celebrate that in a special way this year. We're doing a live session, 4-hour live session on the Freedom Footprint Show, which is my podcast. If you're not following that, you should. So look up the Freedom Footprint Show. It's on a YouTube channel called the Consensus Network, which is the publishing house that publishes my books, by the way. And we're doing this live from BTCX's offices in Stockholm. And BTCX is one of the world's oldest Bitcoin exchanges, and if not the oldest at this point, since all the others are probably not around anymore. And they have some beautiful offices in Stockholm, and I'm doing the pod live from there with some VIP guests, and we're going to release some exclusive tickets for the event. So if you're in Stockholm around the 21st of August, or if you'd like to come, you guys are all invited, of course, if you can make it to Stockholm. But we'll try to talk to a lot of people during this 4 hours, and some of our old guests will pop in and tell us how they celebrate Bitcoin Infinity Day. So don't miss that on the 21st of August.
Awesome. Niko, I'm going to toss it down the line to you as well, because my connection's cracked.
All right. First of all, thank you for having me. This was great. Second, I'd say this because I have them lying around here, and I really have to say, I mean, this is not very new, but I've got Check Your Financial Privilege by Alex Gladstein here, and I've got the brilliant German version, which is called Das Trojanische Pferd der Freiheit. So they changed the title to the Trojan Horse of Liberty, of freedom. And I think it's a very, very important picture, and it made me read the book the second time. And I have to say, Alex is really a good writer, excellent writer, and this is actually one of the more important books. There are many books. I have a little thing for like obscure Bitcoin books. So I ordered one from Indonesia the other day, and I paid like €100 just for getting it here. But I paid in Bitcoin. And so I'm collecting obscure Bitcoin books, but this one is actually brilliant. So check it out. And this idea of the Trojan horse of freedom is extremely important. Bitcoin works as a Trojan horse of freedom. It doesn't matter if it's in a central bank or if it's in BlackRock or anywhere else. And I have to say, if you go and read, this is a little plug. If you go and read my newsletter at fixthemoney.net and my English podcast, I write about my work that I did in the last 20 years as a financial journalist. And actually, I got to meet Larry Fink and talk to him about Bitcoin 5 years ago, and he hated it. And I went, I have a story about CBDCs. I have a story about me going to see the actual gold in the central bank, and I've got all kinds of stories and even more coming up. And I only say this because I want to say one thing to any Bitcoiner like worldwide who's watching this. And that's maybe the main message is buckle up, because things are going to get fucking insane. And the next 1.5 years are just going to be a wild, wild ride. And I'm certain of that when I see what's happening in the Bitcoin world and when I see what's happening in the fiat mainstream world. These are colliding, but not in a very bad way. And things are going to get wild.
Love to hear it. I'm going to toss it to Philip as well for
I
final
didn't realize
recommendations.
didn't realize this was going to be a show and tell. So I luckily had this on my desk. This is a Jan 3 mug. It has some old coffee inside, Ethiopian coffee, very good coffee. And yeah, I'm bullish about what we're doing at Jan 3. And other things I want to get off my chest. We've opened up a Bitcoin hub in Belgrade, the Belgrade Bitcoin hub. I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter, where the likes of 21, that's 21 in Serbian, and they sort of copied. I mean, they took the idea from Einstweigen. If I said that right.
It's 21.
21.
Yes.
Yes. And we've opened up in a great location, the Belgrade Bitcoin Hub, and we organize weekly meetups there. And it's a place for a workspace, place for Bitcoiners and anyone who around the world to come and work there and just to show up, meet up, but also to do presentations. And we've got books, resources there. We've got a miner. We've got some HodlHodl wallets to play around with there. And so I invite everyone who's been to Serbia and who has not been to Serbia to come back or to go visit Serbia for the first time, because we are spreading Bitcoin, the love of Bitcoin in Serbia and the rest of the region and all over the world, of course, because that's what we do at Jan 3.
Love to hear it, man. That's awesome. Hopefully now, but I'm going to round everything out. First off, thank you guys so much for being here, for being part of the show. It's a long time coming for Philip. And again, Niko, great to have you. Knut, super happy to have you back. And apologies for my crap sound, but fuck it. We'll do it live. Here we are, and we made it work. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And gentlemen, I just want to say to all, thank you so much. And you're all welcome back anytime.
Pleasure.
You're welcome. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, man.
I say, well, you're welcome back to Europe more often, so we can do these shows at a more reasonable time for us. So thank you.
Yes, and your connection might be crap, but you still have great hair, Ben. So.
And I'm
what
seeing
what about my hair? What about my hair, Knut?
Yeah, no comment, Niko.
Incredible.
And yes, to one last comment there. Yes, I'm trying to work on getting Novak to be a Bitcoiner. He's a freedom fighter, and he needs to be a Bitcoiner. So I'm working on that one.
That's amazing. Awesome. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm going to sign you guys off. I'll outro so I don't talk over top of you guys anymore. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, man.
Same to you, Ben. See you.
See ya.
Bye.
See you guys. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Again, apologies for all of the technical difficulties. Italy on the coast. Who knows? I mean, I'm sure Rome is fine. Amalfi Coast, maybe not so much. I'm going to play this one more time because it deserves it, but
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
the show deserves 2 of those today. That's anyways, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm not going to chat 2 more, but of course, if you enjoyed what you saw, like, subscribe, share, all those things up, and hit the sponsors that they're all in the show notes down below. And if you really liked what you saw, you can always hit up my website, btcsessions.ca. Book me for one-on-ones. I'm doing those while I'm over here in Europe at more zones for you all. But all shoot me a tip. If you really liked what you saw, the QR code on the screen goes to my Geyser Fund page, and that's where you can leave a comment and you can shoot some sats if you so please. Anyways, guys, with that, I'm going to head out here. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HodlHodl the Bitcoin.